So this is the first wedding video I'm going to do. The first couple of shots that you're going to see here are done with the A7III 24-70. We are going to split between the XH-1 and the XT-3. You so precious when you smile. Yeah. All these shots coming up are with the XH-1 and the 16mm. Really love this lens. It gives a really great look. It's beautiful shots. I edit in two programs for these shots. So On1 is my first editing program, but these are shot with a Sony to make the color look good. The next shots are going to be with the XT-3 55-140. Came out great. The images were wonderful. Each one of these shots were pretty good. I love the black and white on the XT-3 or the Fuji system. It's beautiful black and white. The editing system, like I said, was On1, and the other one is Luminar AI. Luminar AI is so great, especially for skies. Really makes it pop. I know it's a little different on these images as we go through it, but I shot these with different cameras, so the colors are going to come out different each time. Yeah. Girl, anything I could do just to make you feel alright. I just had to let you. I did find it cool that we were able to shoot with giraffes. These were really good. These were all shot with the Sony 24-70. Really great lens. Beautiful, beautiful shots. I can't believe how great it came out. And this is the last shot of the night where the bouquet was thrown. A little bit of blur on it. I'm going to talk about a little bit about each one of these lenses that I did 24-70 here. This is actually a Tamron. On this shot is 28-70, and it came out really well. I really love the shot for the dress. I was able to get everything in focus as far as the shoes. I had to back up a little bit. And in kind of like a studio set like this, kind of where you're indoors, it really doesn't matter too much about the focal length. You could use a prime here, bring it down a little bit on the f-stop. But for the most part, I wanted to get everything in focus for this dress in general and the shoes underneath. So we got everything together. Colors came out good. Like I said, I edited on one. Push a couple of buttons, get a couple of sliders going, try to match it up with the Fuji. And but if I stay indoors on wedding shoot, I pretty much put everything on the same lens. I don't try to do too much outside of that one lens. On this one I use the XH-1, and what I love about the XH-1 is that it has a little bit of image stabilization, so I was able to kind of slow this down. Now this was a little bit of a joke on this picture. I didn't really post it, but it was kind of funny because his brother was playing a joke on him, wore an old dress that somebody had, and he turned around on this shot, and it was really great. But I didn't get his reaction. It was another shooter that got his reaction, but it was pretty awesome. But on this shot specifically, I used Luminar AI so I can bring him more towards the front, have the clouds in the background. I could have blurred out the clouds a little bit, but I wanted it to kind of post a scene where they were at. They were outside. It was a beautiful day. It's actually really great. But the XH-1 works perfect. I'm going to kind of go over each one of these cameras. Now, they've been gone over a ton, but in real world use, the focus is great when you're having something like this standing still. This is amazing on this camera, the dynamic range for it still, for being an older camera. I still really love the way I was able to get the sky and him kind of popping out. One thing also about this is the focal length. I used a 16mm 1.4, and in this shot itself, I was like an f4 maybe. 3.8, I think. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was around f4. There was another shot that I did with this one that was at f8 to get a little bit more of the clouds in the background. But really, truthfully, when you're outside, you're just trying to gather as much. When it's really bright like this, you're trying to gather as much as you can as far as like a lot of the lights and some of the shadows. So I really wanted the clouds to kind of pop in this image, and then him. I knew I could fix it in Luminar AI. Now this last shot I shot with the XT-3, and I shot this because I really wanted a close-up shot. It's the 55-140, beautiful lens. I mean, super sharp focal length. It is heavy, so I had this on the tripod. I had image stabilization turned off because it was on the tripod. I was using a feather tripod, so it means like it has like really tight screws down. You can just tighten it down real quick and then release it and kind of move it how you want. And so I'll go over the tripod down the road. I have several tripod heads that I use for this one tripod, but this shot itself was with the Fuji XT-3. Very little edits. I think this is, in fact, this one's a JPEG by itself. Came out perfect on the colors. I got what I wanted as far as the background blur. I mean, 2.8, just, you can see the guy there a little bit, but you know, you get a kind of a scene. But really, truthfully, what I wanted to focus on were their hands together. This was a special little moment. Just the priest was talking, saying a little story about them, and this was absolutely perfect as far as what was going on with it in general. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the noise and night shooting. These two shots that you're seeing here back to back are shot with the A7 IV and the A7 III. Now the A7 III was shot with a flash. The A7 IV was shot without a flash. I tried to put the flash on the camera itself. Just couldn't get the lighting right real quick. I mean, we only had like 10 minutes with these giraffes, so I had to, you know, take the flash off and just shoot natural. But they came out pretty good. I put them in Luminar AI and on one and brought them out a little bit. The A7 III with the flash came out really well. I had the flash sitting right next to me, kind of a little bit in front of me, but I shot it. I wanted to get that color in the background, and everybody always asks these YouTubers, hey, what's the settings that you have? And the first thing you have to do, you know, just shoot the shot without, you know, the flash. Bring your ISO down as low as you can. Your shutter speed is as high as you can with the flash, you know, so the Sonys are like 200 or 180. I can't really remember exactly what it was, but so I brought that down, and then the aperture, I just started playing with the aperture so I could get the background, and then I did the flash. And it's not the best shot with the flash that I wanted. I wanted 2 flashes, but I just couldn't run and go get it. We were pretty far out. As you could see, the giraffes are out there, so we were pretty far away from the venue itself. But I just wanted to show kind of an outlook of what the A7 IV kind of looks like without a flash, and just kind of the dynamic range it has, and then the A7 III with the flash, just kind of getting through it. It actually turned out really well, both of these shots. I rarely ever, like I said, like I'll say, rarely ever use the A7 IV for anything like this. The A7 III is usually with my workhorse, and the A7 IV I use for low light. You'll see it here in a little bit. Now you're gonna say you have 4 cameras. I have 4 lenses that I use on a consistent basis. So I have a wide angle lens, the zoom lenses, and then I love the color of the Fuji, especially during daylights or blue hour, you know, that golden hour type of thing. Those are when I use those cameras. So each one is a tool that I just use for what they go through, and I'll kind of walk you through those as you know, as the series goes on. As far as the XH-1, the XT-3, amazing colors that they have and the great picture that they have overall. The one drawback is the noise level for both of them and autofocus. Everybody touts Fuji for their autofocus just being not as great. In low light, it just wouldn't catch it. This shot specifically, I had to shoot on the A7 IV. Now, I don't pull out the A7 IV too much. I only do a little bit of video for the most part, so a lot of the vertical videos that you saw overall are done with the the A7 IV. But the A7 IV has really great dynamic range. I shot this because it has really good autofocus. I was able to really lower the shutter speed so that I can get a little bit of blur with the bokeh, and her still throwing it, still flat. It still caught her pretty good. She was in focus 100%, and that is the one problem with the Fuji. I could not have made this shot. There was another shot that I was going to show later on down the road in the next video when I specifically talk about the Fuji's lack of focus. I did have a friend that has an XH-2, and we're going to test that out next weekend, and so we'll come back to that. Same venue, I think it is, or at least a venue that's something similar to this place. But I want to thank everybody, you know, the bride and groom, and the venue in Texas, close to Waco. I think they're called Blue Hill Ranch. It's a beautiful place if you're going to get married. It's so gorgeous. They have giraffes. That's pretty cool by itself. So thank you for watching, and we will discuss the lenses and real world scenarios for wedding photographers down the road.